So that's, to me, those are those eye openers for me about where we're going with seeing how the value of domains, real estate, lead gen is going up. And I think one of the bigger things that I've noticed is minute in comparison to something like I own all kinds of real estate. And you're right, pandemic hit, man, my apartment complexes, they're not paying rent, right? And they're on a moratorium. And, luckily I'm in a position where that doesn't necessarily affect me, but I can only imagine how some people might have been who weren't in such a, maybe an equitable position and cash flow position in their properties. And then on top of that, it's, the amount of true physical real estate you have to buy to pull the cash flow that I think, I imagine where you're at now based on some of our previous conversations, we'll keep that to ourselves, but it's exponentially different, right? So I'm a big believer in physical real estate though, and I want to own and control as much of it as possible. But, we're in a very digital world as well now where, heck, you and I are communicating in about as far away as you can get from each other over, a computer. And it's like, no big deal, cool times to be living. But like just the thought process of the fact that you and I are on a live stream right now and you're in Australia and I'm here and there's no problems it's crazy. We're in a digital world anymore, Yeah. So digital real estate is going to become more and more valuable. In fact, I just bought a domain name for $26,000, just the domain name. And that domain name is like, for me, I'm like, well, it's $26,000 now. That thing, when I put my magic on it and actually build it into a property that's bringing in leads, not just the name alone was worth that. So that's, to me, those are those eye openers for me about where we're going with seeing how the value of domains, real estate, lead gen is going up. And I think one of the bigger things that I've noticed is, especially this pandemic has really made this like a glaringly obvious, huge opening, I think, for everyone on the outside looking in is, there's 5 companies in the US that basically went up $1 trillion in total value, while the rest of the world is literally, crashing into the oceans, right? And that was during the middle of a freaking pandemic. And so what we've been seeing is, small business owners now get it. And before, sometimes the old school business owners, they'd be like, I just do everything word of mouth. I've never had a problem, blah, blah, blah. Boom, this thing hits. Now the internet is really the place where when people are locked in, that they got to go to get things, to get something repaired. I had a pipe burst at one of my homes. And it's like, I had to bring in a plumber during the pandemic. It's like, I got to get on the internet and find one. And, there's so many different examples of that. But I think more and more of these small business owners are starting to go, hey, if we don't have a strong presence of lead generation coming in, phone calls, leads, you name it, we're going to die on the vine by these big companies that are going to come either gobble everyone up that is still relevant, or everyone just goes out of business and the big companies just stay there and continue their dominance. So there's a lot of small business owners, though, I believe, and I think you'd probably agree, that are kind of at that place, like they're seeing it more than ever right now, that they have to be working with people like you and I that know how to do this at a very high level, because otherwise the Amazons, the Googles, the Facebooks, they'll just continue to eat their lunch until they're completely gone. So I think we're in a really good place in time for the explosion of lead generation and these small businesses really making it make sense.
100%. And there's so many people that are perhaps in their, their older years that are running these businesses, and the amount of people that say to me, like, I don't even want my own website. I don't even want to really, if you can just give me that and I'll get the result. And then we just both win at it. It's like, you're basically just, the leads in advance thing just works so well. And the amount of people that say to me is like, I get spammed all day, every day from these like lead generation. I've never said the word lead generation very few times when we're speaking to these people, especially like builders, contractors, and that. They don't want to hear those words because it's just spam.
Yep.
So the amount of people that say, this, no one's ever done it the way you've done it.
Yeah.
Come to me. And I'm like, good.
It's counterintuitive for a lot of people because, we see things on such a linear basis as humans. We go to the grocery store, we find what we're looking for, we buy it, we check out, we go home, we consume it. So
Mhm.
that's the way we understand things. You would never go to a grocery store and go to the grocery store, see what I want, eat it all, decide if I want it or not, if I like it or not, and then either pay or not. So it's highly counterintuitive. That's why it works. We call it pattern interrupt, right? It is a complete interrupt to the pattern they're used to, which is the person saying, hey, I can do this for you. Hey, buy this from me. And these people never do anything for these small business owners who are already suffering, they're hurting, they're struggling. So my whole thing is like, look, Costco's got this figured out. You go to Costco in the USA, the old lady gives you a sample of the chicken or the shrimp, and next thing you know, you're buying 27 pounds of it. Why? Because she gave you results in advance, said try before you buy. And I think that this principle has been written in the sands of time, that if you give first, you shall receive.